Now, we talked about IRAs, and this is always my biggest concern with IRAs because you have RMDs that you're going to have to eventually get to. So, liquidity is of one of the concerns because you're buying that stream or that lump sum.
Right.
It's already predicated. It's already set out. So
you need to balance that in terms of your overall IRA, that you've got money to draw your RMDs from, or that your income stream will be adequate from the pre-issued annuity to cover your RMDs. So that is a consideration that you have to look at.
So liquidity in and of itself.
Yes, and let's just talk about liquidity. That is probably, in all fairness, folks, that is the biggest negative of a pre-issued annuity. That once you buy it, you have to know that you're in a good position to hold it to maturity. If you're in a good position, it can be a great strategy, a great financial vehicle. But if you're not, and you buy one, then you're going to be forced to sell it on a secondary market, go through the court order process, sell your payment streams, and that will be at a considerable loss typically.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's a reason that there's so many players in this market. They're able to buy and sell. Or sell low, buy high.
Right. Buy low, sell high.
Unfortunately, in this case, the people selling are selling it at a low point. But we really encourage you to know exactly that you can handle that that payment stream that's been set up, or that lump sum. Those criteria fit your situation.
And another aspect of this that folks get a little bit, how do I want to say, frustrated. You talk to a lot of people out there that are basically a commission salesperson. They're claiming to be an expert. They may have done several of these transactions, but they really don't have what's called a fiduciary responsibility, to the client. And so, if they are incompetent, if they've not done well, they're on to their next client after they've placed you with something that may not have been handled properly. So this is where we highly recommend that you work with someone, first of all, that is very experienced, but in addition to that, that it would be an attorney. Because there is a court order process that these go through, and you really want to make certain that it's properly identified and named, and that all the parties involved are properly represented, and your closing documents and everything have been reviewed by an attorney, and that attorney actually has a certain fiduciary obligation to look out for your best interests. And if they don't, they're in danger of losing their practice.
Yeah, I mean, we actually would say we'd encourage you to actually have a retainer with an attorney signed, in order to ensure that client attorney privilege.
That's right.
That they're obligated to basically act in your best interest.
Exactly.
It's that fiduciary responsibility.
That's right.
So it's
so that's going to cut down. Let's be fair. That's going to cut down on the yield a little bit. But when we're talking about a substantial yield, way better than what's available in the market, and you have to put out $500 out of your pocket to ensure that it's done correctly. That's a very small part of that yield. I mean, it might be 10 basis points over 10 years, or 0.1%. So, I'm just throwing out some approximations here. It could be way less than that. It could be slightly more.
Exactly.
So,
all right. The next thing is, you're not just going to run down to the corner drugstore and pick one of these up off the shelf. No. And there's really some major players in this. And there's not that many of the major players, 4 or 5 of them. And of those players, some of them sell pretty much exclusively to institutional investors. So that leaves less to pick from. And there are some smaller entities that are in this distribution vein. But what you really want, and we always are telling our clients this, or website visitors, is you want someone that's really connected to the sources, that can have multiple avenues to look at the better pre-issued annuities that come along with better yields and better payment terms and this type of thing, that most people that are out there on the internet buying from a commission salesperson, they're not going to actually know about these. The earlier you are in the process, of
yes,
the better return you're going to get.
yes.
So
Which
insider's advantage.
It really is. It is, and there's nothing illegal or wrong
Yeah.
about it. It's not like insider trading or something. This is just knowing how to get to the item first that's paying the highest yield. And there's another aspect, Eric, that we need to be aware of. And I'm going to look back here at my notes here so I can make sure that I don't just keep going rambling on here. Make sure that we hit all of these points.
Well, we talk about the escrow.
Right.
And
that was. Go ahead.
Where you were going to go?
Where I was going on it.
Well,
Yes.
and
yes.
it's basically when you start to work with somebody, and especially on the insider aspect,
Yes.
where you indicate this is what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you're going to put an escrow out there,
Right.
in order to initiate the process.
Right. Well, and that is the aspect that we want to be aware of, and that is that about 30% of these that enter the court order process will not go through. They'll be declared invalid by the court system. So about 70% of them are going to go through, and just what you were talking about, you have to escrow, get ahead of the curve to get the better ones. You have to actually be willing to say, hey, that's a payment stream I would like to have, and like you said, escrow 10% to 20% to hold that particular contract, that particular pre-issued annuity while it goes through the court order process. And it takes about 90 days. So the worst case scenario is you'll get your escrow back.
Right. You've lost time. That's all
Right,
you've lost
right,
in a sense.
right.
And so it's, again, the court is protecting your process. So that's a safety
Yes.
side. But the negative side is there are procedures and pieces that have to go through in order for this to come to fruition.
Right, right.
So how many people are competing in this world? Is there, and that's there's a whole bunch of motivated commission people that are in there,
Right,
but
right.
it's a very
Well,
small insiders group.
Yes, when we start getting into attorneys that work in this area, that are very proficient in this area, that have some real experience, a lot of those attorneys are actually working for the companies that are buying the settlements and selling the settlements and this type of thing. So there are some available. You can find them, typically on the internet. If you're somehow connected to the industry, you may know some, and that's something that we can do for our site visitors, is recommend an attorney that we can refer that would assist them.
Yeah, and that's the key. I think our strength in this area is working with insiders.
Right.
We work with somebody that's key in the industry.
Yes.
That has an insider advantage, and that's what's benefited our clients.
It really makes the difference.
Yeah.
So I think, folks, that when you look at this whole strategy and this direction for a higher yield, I think you just need to do a little bit more homework, a little more research, become comfortable with how it works, and once you understand it, it can be a very effective, very high yield, safe type of financial strategy.
Yeah, it's an excellent tool for your toolbox especially in this extremely low rate environment.
Right,
It gives
right.
you another option
For that portion of your money
Right.
that you want to see grow with a good yield, and you can structure the payment stream to fit your needs. It's hard to beat.
Yeah. So, thank you for checking out our pre-issued annuity section.
Yes, and we'll come back with more on this at a later date, and maybe go into more of the mechanics of it.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
Thank you.